Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading a Neuvillette Listener by me. So let's get into it. Neuvillette liked many things about you. That was a fact. That was very true. No matter what else would change. You would always be special to him no matter what. And that entailed all of your assets, really. That's the best way to name this, as he had no other way of calling it. But most importantly, he just knew where to pay his attention, and when. And right now seemed as perfect time as any. You looked beautiful, but to him it was something you always did. You would always be beautiful to him, and no force in the world could possibly ever change that. The fact that you could look so magical, so beautiful and so enchanting, in more ways than one. It was something that would never fail to amaze him. Something that would always make his mind it was rather difficult to explain the perspective of a dragon who had no idea how to process his own emotions, besides simply just deciding what was appropriate and what wasn't. It was a lot to go through, if he were to be honest. And right now, as his gaze could not leave your figure, he had those feelings filling inside of him that he could not deal with alone, at least not in silence. He had to tell you what he felt. And being in a relationship composed of communicating with your partner what you desire and what your feelings are, as far as he remembered. So maybe it was a reasonable want to have a need for talking and discussing his feelings with you. After all, it was no easy feat trying to pull through all of those feelings within him. They were rather intense. There were many of them, and most of all, he was horrible at identifying them. He could not find something that would make processing those feelings a lot easier. And he knew that no matter what he truly did, there would always be some level of difficulty that would make things like processing his own feelings rather difficult and insufferable, all in its own way. So, he had hoped, from the deepest parts of his heart, that you would understand him and his own desire to be honest with you, even if he was not so good at doing this whole dating thing. He was trying, and he hoped that his efforts would be appreciated. So as he went to your side, wrapping an arm around you, he was rather nervous. "My dearest Wyan, may I talk to you?" he asked, rather formally. You would always be surprised at how formal he could be, and how gentle he was. It was a little bit too much. Of course, in a good way, but it was still far too adorable. You had no idea how to consider it, considering this was the Hydra dragon you were talking about, and saying he was adorable was a little bit insulting, and you hoped that he would not know that you thought of him as such, because you still had some difficulties trying to understand that being adorable was not necessarily something bad. And that's how the two of you were sitting next to each other now, after he had asked you, and you held his hand. "So, what's on your mind, Neuvillette?" You ask him, and after some quiet, he looks at you, then shyly averts his gaze. "I am rather infatuated with your appearance, Wyan. With you as well. But you look very special today. Very beautiful and enchanting." You found yourself blushing. His choice of words and the way that he found difficulty in just laying out those words in front of you. And yet, he had managed to be so gentle, so loving, and so adoring. It made your heart melt as you wrapped your arms around him and leaned up to kiss his cheek gently. It's alright. I understand. Maybe it's what I'm wearing then? What do you want to do about it? You try to guide him into naming what he wants. Neuvillette struggles with this. He's still trying to figure things out, and you're more than happy to guide a very willing dragon. So, as he wraps his arms tighter around you and pulls you even closer, he shyly announces, I want to be able to show you my love. If it means kissing you, or doing something more, then so be it. Of course, if you agree, he said, after a pause. And he blushed a little bit, but smiled. And I agree, Neuvillette. You may do as you please. You tell him, and he's more than happy about that, cupping your face in his hands gently, leaning in, and planting his lips against your own. The two of you, losing your senses of time and basically anything else, so long as it was not about the other. His eyes closed and so did your own, as he deepened the kiss rather gently, pulling your body closer, a hand on your thigh and the other around the small of your back. And as his hands roamed around you while the two of you made out, you knew this was so much unlike him. And yet, when he broke away, breathless from the kiss, you saw his eyes and how intense they were, and you could tell that Neuvillette was feeling some rather intense feelings. It was different from usual, in a good way, and an exciting way. It would certainly be something new for both of you, something for you two to enjoy and explore together. And you were more than happy that he had pulled the initiative this time. And as you kissed him once more, he found the heart within his chest beating faster and faster. And although he denied his own emotions and denied their existence many times, with you, he comes to discover so many depths of them, so many feelings he never thought that he could possibly feel. And right now was one of those moments where he felt an indescribable feeling of want and need for the one person that he treasured most in the world.